We are the burnout generation. Not because we're lazy and not because we can't handle pressure, but because we've been running at full speed with an empty tank. We were handed hustle culture like it was oxygen, told rest was weakness, and taught that productivity equaled worth. So now we're tired, and not just need a nap tired, existentially, spiritually, chronically tired. And I know I'm not the only one feeling it. In this episode, we're going to break it all down. Why we're so tired, where the burnout comes from, and how we begin to heal, and not just as individuals, but as a generation. So whether you're a corporate exec, a college student, a stay-at-home parent, a healthcare worker, or a creative chasing deadlines, this one's for you. So let's talk about why we're running on empty and how to refill the tank. Are you ready? I am. I'm Jonah. I'm your person. Let's get to it. Welcome to the show. If you're joining for the first time, thanks for joining. And a great big thank you to those who have come back for more. Let's begin with the big one, the lie that we were sold. We grew up in a world that told us if you just worked hard enough, stayed busy enough, and sacrificed long enough, it would all pay off. You'd get the job, the house, the peace. You'd be safe. You'd arrive. But the finish line keeps moving, doesn't it? What we weren't told is that the grind would come with no off switch, that the promise of someday could quietly steal every 2 day, that we could lose ourselves chasing a version of success that doesn't even feel like ours. We were handed this blueprint for life that looked like work hard, stay late, don't complain, be grateful, produce, achieve, hustle, and then repeat. And for a while, maybe it worked. You checked the boxes. You climb. You keep up. You're praised for being the reliable one, the go-getter, the one who never quits. But somewhere along the way, things start to crack. You wake up already tired. You dread the inbox. You feel numb at celebrations, disconnected during downtime, restless even on your days off. And it hits you. You've been running on fumes. But because we've been taught to glorify struggle, we keep going. Because we equate our worth with our output, we can't stop. Because somewhere deep down, we fear that rest equals failure. Let me be clear. You are not lazy and you are not broken. You're just exhausted from chasing a system that was never built to hold your humanity. I've talked to those in the medical profession, particularly nurses pulling double shifts whilst grieving, teachers who cry in the parking lot before walking into the classrooms they love, creatives working freelance who are afraid to say no to clients even when they're sick, farmers who keep going because their land won't wait, even when their bodies beg them to. And this isn't just a personal problem. It's systemic. But it shows up in our personal lives when we don't know how to rest, or we feel guilty when we need to take care of ourselves. And look, I'm not saying ambition is bad. I'm saying unsustainable ambition is killing us. So what do? We start by naming the lie, calling it out, looking it dead in the face and saying, you don't get to run my life anymore. We start by remembering that rest is not something we earn once we've worked ourselves into the ground. It's a birthright. It's a necessity. It's a protest against a culture that only values us when we're producing. So here's your first challenge for the week. Take out a journal or open up a blank note on your phone and finish this sentence. Success used to mean blank, but now I'm realizing it needs to mean blank. Be honest, then take the new definition and put it somewhere visible this week. Your mirror, your desk, your lock screen. Let it guide how you move. Okay, let's talk about something that's constantly buzzing in the background, stealing our energy in ways we don't even realize. Our devices, our feeds, our notifications, our endless digital tethering. We are the most connected generation in history, and also one of the most exhausted. And that's no coincidence. Every ping, every ding, every just a quick scroll is another loop in our brain. And those loops pile up. See, we used to go home from work and we were done. Now, work follows us in our pocket, in our purse, in our beds. And it's not just emails, it's expectations to reply, to be available, to stay informed, to keep up. There's no line between on and off anymore. Even when we're technically resting, we're not really resting. We're absorbing. We're reacting, comparing, responding, watching, consuming. And that low-grade hum of always on energy, it's draining your nervous system. I mean, I've had days where I finish work and I tell myself, okay, now I'm going to unplug. But somehow I end up scrolling TikTok for an hour while bouncing around between 5 group chats and watching a show I can't even remember the plot of. And at the end of that hour, I don't feel restored. I feel buzzed out. Sound familiar? And this isn't about demonizing tech. There's beauty in it too. Connection, creativity, access. But let's be honest. We are digitally overloaded. And in that overload, our brains don't get to settle. We were not built to know what's happening in 20 people's lives before breakfast. We were not meant to be reachable 24/7. And you definitely weren't wired to be bombarded with algorithmic urgency all day long. When our brains don't get to idle, to wander, to be still, burnout sets in. Even if our bodies are technically sitting still. One of the biggest lies we believe is that being connected means being productive. But some of the most burned out people I know are spending more time reacting to life than actually living it. How about that? Let's go even deeper. Have you ever noticed that when you have a quiet moment, no screen, no noise, it almost feels uncomfortable? Like your brain doesn't even know what to do with the silence anymore. And that's not your fault. That's overstimulation fatigue. It's the nervous system saying, I've been running on high for so long, I forgot how to slow down. Here's the scary part. Our addiction to being on is often tied to fear. We fear missing out, falling behind, seeming unavailable, losing relevance. So we stay on. We stay plugged in. We stay wired. And slowly, we forget what real rest even feels like. But here's the truth. You don't owe anyone constant access to your mind. Not your boss, not your followers, not your calendar. You are allowed to have protected time to disconnect, time to not be performing for anyone. Look, I want to pause for just a second and go off script before I give the second challenge. I care about us so much. I care about myself. I care about my son. I care about my friends that I see going through the grind. And that's the reason why I chose to do this episode. It's a bit longer than most, but I hope you get something out of it where you just take time to pause and slow down and rest and enjoy your life. Okay, let's go ahead and go to that second challenge. Pick one evening this week, just one, and create a digital sundown. Set a time where you put your phone on Do Not Disturb, turn off the tally, shut the laptop down, and instead, let your body lead. Journal, cook, sit outside, lie down, breathe deep. That even feels good just doing that. Then ask yourself, how did that feel? You might notice your anxiety spike at first. That's normal. But you'll also notice something deeper. Your nervous system beginning to remember what it feels like to rest. You deserve it. Okay, let's talk about something almost all of us have experienced but don't often name. Guilt around rest. And it shows up like this. You finally sit down to breathe, to watch a show, to close your eyes for 5 minutes, and immediately your mind starts to flood. I should be doing something. There's laundry, emails, that deadline. I haven't earned rest yet. Sound familiar? Somewhere along the way, rest became a reward, a luxury, something you only get after you've suffered or checked every box. And so, instead of being in a space where we recharge, rest becomes one more battleground. We can't relax because we're too busy feeling bad about relaxing. And here's the wild part. We've normalized exhaustion. People proudly say they're running on 4 hours of sleep. They brag about skipping lunch, working weekends, answering emails at midnight. Hell, I'm super guilty of all of that. But if someone says, I took a nap today, we almost flinch like they broke some unspoken rule. It becomes cringy. And let me be clear, that's not a personal flaw. It's a cultural disease. We live in a system that profits off your hustle and makes you feel guilty for stepping away from it. Rest isn't lazy. It's necessary. It's wise. It's radical, especially in a world that wants to keep you running. I think of farmers letting soil lie fallow, a season with no planting. Not because the soil is useless, but because that pause is what allows future growth. Why don't we give ourselves the same grace? Athletes rest. Musicians pause between notes. Why not us? What if rest wasn't something to earn, but something we were allowed? And what if we started to see it not as a waste of time, but a restoration of our energy? I know it's not easy, especially if your worth has been tied to your output for years. But your humanity is not a machine, and you're not a robot. And the irony? We actually work better, create better, love better when we're rested. So here is your third challenge for the week. Choose one moment of intentional rest. And here's the key. Don't apologize for it. Not to your coworkers, your partner, your parents, or yourself. Whether it's a walk with no phone, a nap in the middle of the day, or sitting quietly with a book, let it be sacred. Let it be yours. And if the guilt creeps in, just remind yourself, I'm not falling behind. I'm finally catching up with myself. Now, let me clarify. Not all burnout looks the same. Sure, some of it is physical. You're tired, foggy, drained. But there's a deeper kind of burnout that's harder to name. The one where you're still functioning on the outside, but inside, something feels hollow. You're showing up. You're getting things done. You might even be smiling, but you're emotionally flat. Your spark is gone. Joy feels distant. And it's not that you can't keep going. It's that you're not sure why you are. That's emotional burnout, and it's everywhere. We don't talk about it enough because it's invisible. You can't measure it with a sleep tracker or a productivity app. It's the kind of exhaustion that settles in your spirit, not just your schedule. It's the college student who's acing their classes but hasn't laughed in months. The parent who loves their kids but secretly dreads every morning. The entrepreneur who built their dream but doesn't feel anything anymore. This kind of burnout whispers, "What's the point?" It numbs you before it breaks you. And here's the tricky part. The world will keep applauding you even as you're falling apart quietly. Because you're still performing. You're still productive. But inside, you know you've left yourself behind. If that's you, please hear this. You're not broken. You're depleted. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be filled. And that starts by giving yourself permission to stop just surviving and start feeling again. It starts by asking questions like, what used to light me up before I got so tired? When did I last feel deeply rested, physically and emotionally? And what am I doing because I want to? And what am I doing because I'm afraid to stop? You don't need to quit your job or move to Bali unless you want to. You need space to reconnect to what's real, to you. Not the version of you that keeps up appearances, but the one under all of that. So here's your fourth challenge for the week. Make a spark list. Yes, spark. Write down 5 things, simple, small, maybe even silly, that used to make you feel alive. Now, circle one and schedule it this week. Not because it's productive, but because you matter. And joy? Joy is not a luxury. It's a fuel. All right, let's shift gears and talk about your body. Because when you're running on empty, your body doesn't whisper. It screams. You have trouble sleeping, headaches, chronic tightness, digestive issues, panic attacks out of nowhere. These aren't random. They're not just getting older or bad luck. They're signals. The body is wise, and it keeps track of everything. Stress, trauma, overstimulation, emotional neglect, and it stores it, carries it, and eventually it speaks up. I've worked with so many people who had no idea that they were burned out until their bodies forced them to listen, until they collapsed from adrenal fatigue or developed autoimmune issues, or who had a full-blown breakdown on a Tuesday afternoon for no reason. And we're taught to override that. Pop a pill, they say. Go grab a coffee. Grab one for me whilst you're at it. Keep moving. But what if instead of pushing through, you tuned in? Try this. Think of the last time your body tried to slow you down. Maybe it was tension in your chest, a stomach that just wouldn't settle, or that moment you burst into tears over something small. That was your nervous system saying, I'm overloaded. Burnout isn't just mental. It's embodied. And healing isn't just mindset. It encompasses the whole of your body. That means your body needs a chance to complete the stress cycle, to feel safe again, to stop bracing for the next hit. And sometimes healing starts with the simplest things. A long walk without a destination. Breath work. Lying on the floor with your hand on your heart. Moving your body, not to burn calories, but to shake off static. It sounds small, but it's not. It's foundational. We can't think our way out of burnout if our bodies are stuck in survival mode. So here's your next challenge. Every day, take 5 minutes to do a full body scan. Sit or lie down, close your eyes, and notice, where am I holding my tension? What needs softening? What feels numb? No fixing, just listening. Because when the body is heard, it can finally start to let go. Okay. One of the biggest reasons we stay burned out is our definition of productive. We've been trained to think that being productive means doing more output, more hustle, more hours logged. But what if productivity isn't about doing more, but about doing what actually matters? Think about it. How many times have you been busy all day, but felt like nothing meaningful got done? Guilty today, even? Or had a short, focused hour and felt truly accomplished? We have to unlearn this idea that worth equals busyness, and that slowing down means falling behind. And you start showing up clear-headed, not frantic, present, not scattered, alive, not just operational. And I know it's not easy, especially if you're in a demanding season. But even in the chaos, there's power in asking, is this task aligned with who I want to be? Or am I doing it out of fear, habit, or guilt? So here is your 6th challenge for the week. Each morning, before your day kicks in, ask yourself, what are the top 3 things that will truly matter today? Not the 25 urgent distractions, the top 3 that will move your life, your values, and your joy forward. Then, give yourself permission to let the rest go. Please don't forget to drop a like, a follow, and a subscribe if you're enjoying the show or think somebody else can benefit. Thank you. You know, we're not going to fix burnout with a bubble bath and a checklist, because this isn't about quick fixes. It's about choosing a new rhythm for your life, one that actually honors your limits, your needs, and your humanity. Because burnout doesn't just happen from doing too much. It happens when you're constantly doing things that drain you, or misalign you, or disconnect you from yourself. So the healing starts with asking, what would a life that felt like mine actually look like? It might mean saying no without guilt, building in recovery time after big projects, scheduling rest with the same importance as meetings, and finally, letting go of the pressure to do it all. Look, this is a process, not a flip of a switch. And you'll still have moments when the guilt creeps in, don't you worry. And where the world pushes you to go faster, be more, and prove your worth. But now you'll have the tools to pause and ask, is this aligned? Or am I just afraid to rest? Look, you are not weak for needing rest. You are wise. And you are not behind for slowing down. You are choosing to last. And guess what? You're not alone. So many of us are waking up from the burnout trance, learning how to live fully again, not just function. Okay, deep breath. Here's your final challenge for the week. Create your burnout recovery blueprint. Write this down. 1 boundary you're setting. 1 small joy you're prioritizing. 1 way you'll honor your body this week. And then 1 affirmation you'll carry when the guilt shows up. Something like, I am allowed to rest. I am allowed to feel good. I don't need to earn my peace. And let that be your new rhythm. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be yours. Look, burnout doesn't mean you're broken. It means you've been strong for too long without a pause. And today, that pause begins. You don't have to do it all overnight. You just have to start with one shift, one boundary, one breath. So if you've been running on empty, this is your sign to pull over. Refill and reclaim your energy. And remember, you're not alone in this. You're part of a generation waking up, not just to burnout, but to a better way forward. I'll see you next Tuesday. Until then, go rest. You've earned it.